Hey guys, welcome to the homestead. It's a dreary Saturday morning. We're finally getting the time to slow down and get caught up, and we owe you guys a video on our trip to Tennessee. We left you off in Pennsylvania at
Dingmans Campground.
and we told you we were going to pick the camera up and try to get some more videos, maybe some backing into a campsite, setting up video, etc., etc. We just got into the enjoyment of being on vacation, enjoying the road, seeing the sights, and honestly, we didn't think to pick the camera up. So we finished our trip. So we're going to just give you a recap of that trip. We're going to talk about some of the bumps in the road real quickly, figuratively and literally. And then what we're going to also do is we're going to give you a video that basically talks about some of the things we learned, some of the mistakes we made. You know, we watched a lot of videos leading up to this trip. This was a long trip for me. I don't want to say anxiety because that's not the right word, but it gets me a little nervous to think about heading way away from home. What if, the clutch blows in the truck? What if, right? You can what if yourself right into a corner and never want to go anywhere. So we watched a lot of videos. We thought we had a pretty good handle on everything we needed for this trip, and I actually think we did, but we'll do a video on that.
There were definitely a few things that we learned along the way that we feel like we could share with you in a future video that might help somebody new to RVing like ourselves to have a better trip. And we did have an excellent trip, but we ran into a few snags along the way. The first one was that we did have a tire issue, and we were very fortunate. It was brand new tire, brand new valve stem, but Ryan noticed that the tire looked a little bit slack at our campground.
Dingmans. Yep.
And so we did have a portable air compressor, and we went ahead and filled that tire back up and drove on it for about half the day, and we stopped at a Pilot truck stop to fuel up and take a quick break. And we noticed that, again, the tire looked slack. They did have a tire shop on site. Unfortunately, they did not have the ability to fix standard truck tires, only semi-truck tires. So he went ahead and swapped out our tire for our spare. And I got to calling around to see if we could get our now spare, that was the original, fixed up for us so that we would have a spare tire again. And the first place that I called was a Firestone, and because we had a camper, they did not really want to service our tire. As soon as I mentioned we had a camper, he's like, "We can't help you." And I asked him, even though it's a truck tire and it's not even on the truck, much less the camper, and he basically told me, "No, we will not help you if you have a camper in tow."
It was a Saturday too, and
it was a Saturday,
and I think they focused on the camper part of it and just kept saying they didn't work on campers. So she called another place that was just down the road a little bit, and they were just so polite,
super nice, wonderful.
Half a mile off the highway, we were able to just pour it in their parking lot. I mean, we were in and out, and well, it took us longer to make sandwiches and eat lunch than it did to get the fix. I mean, while Sue was in getting the paperwork done on repairing the tire, I decided to wheel the tire up. One of the kids come out of the shop. I call him kid. He was probably, 30-something years old. But he came out of the shop to ask what I needed. I said, got a bad valve stem. And he grabbed the tire, and he was rolling the tire back out to me before she even came out of the shop with the service writer in the shop already fixed.
Yeah. So they were wonderful. Yeah. So that, while it was an event, wasn't a horrible event.
No.
And made our way down to the South Lake RV Park.
Very nice RV park, by the way. If you're ever in Knoxville area and want camping, South Lake RV Park, a lot of sites, ample room, full hookups.
Very comfortable. Make sure you use your RV GPS or you follow the directions on their website. Yeah. Do not follow your phone GPS. That was definitely something that we got a little taste of. In driving back and forth to the convention center, we realized of the 4 ways you can get into that campground, 3 of them are a really bad choice. 2 of them are an absolute no-go.
And we'll talk about that in the other video. So.
But very nice RV park. We definitely enjoyed it there. We continued from the South Lake RV Park. Jim, our friend from Florida, decided to come back up to Maine with us. So we convoyed up to our next stop, which was the Hill Campground.
Yeah, we stayed at the Hill Campground the next night, which was right off the highway. Real convenient. A little pricey, but was a nice campground. Interestingly enough, on the ride to the Hill Campground, we ran into a parking lot on the highway, and this is one of those bumps in the road I was talking about. I happened to look over and catch a state trooper in the median, in the grass, going by us at like 55 miles an hour. And I'm thinking to myself, like, holy cow, I hope there's no tire or something in that grass. He's going to total his cruiser. But
he did mean holy cow, because the block was caused by a loose cow on the highway.
Yep.
So they were trying to round him up. Coincidentally, Hill Campground is right next to an auction barn. And this was right as we were getting ready to get off the exit there. So I don't know if the cow came from the auction barn next to the campground, or if there was an incident with a trailer on the highway. But either way, there was a cow running down the median. Hopefully they got him corralled safely and put back into the trailer. But interesting little incidents on the way.
And we'll try to leave a list of all the campgrounds we stayed at and our review of them. There's a couple different reasons to be at a campsite, and you have to look at this when you're booking a campsite. Like for us, Candy Hill was a place to stop, dump our tanks, get a night's sleep, and get back on the road north. So it was right close to the highway, which gave you some highway noise, but it was also very convenient on and off. So you have to look at those things. And then the next day, I think, was the day we saw the trailer truck accident. We were right behind it. I mean, we didn't see it happen, but we were probably within 5 minutes behind it. So we were only waylaid about 15 minutes, and we'll leave a picture right here somewhere, or right here. We'll put it somewhere in this box anyways. One trailer truck tried to occupy the space of the other one by just a couple inches and lost the whole side of its trailer and ended up out in the woods. But that was also the day we lost the brake controller on the truck, because the next campground was a KOA that we decided to spend 2 nights at.
Yeah.
Real nice KOA in the mountains. They had a hiking trail up to the top of the mountain. But the entrance to it is at the bottom of about a 12% grade, which is somewhere around 3 miles long. And that's when I realized that my brake controller only worked for about 4 to 5 seconds, and then it would cut out. So we maybe used the truck brakes a little more than we should have going down that hill, but nothing bad came of it other than maybe a little excess wear on the truck brakes.
There was significant brake smell, though. It definitely...
Yeah. I mean,
camper brakes are a valuable thing, and you learn that quite quickly when you don't have them.
And to be clear, I could have gone past, I didn't have to stop at the bottom of the hill, but the truck brakes were sufficient to do that. And, we were able to stop. We could have been easier on the brakes and rolled past the campground and come back. But these are just things I bring up because as you're planning your trips, like the next morning out of there, it's a dead stop out of the campground, take a hard right, and straight up a 12% grade. And it's a fairly busy area. I say busy. I mean, it's not like, downtown Seattle or anything like that. But there's likely to be somebody come up behind you at 55 miles an hour while you're starting up that grade. And in our case, with the Dodge and that big of a grade and everything else, we rode up through the gears to third gear and ran 35 miles an hour up the hill. I was not going to try to make the pull to fourth gear just because, you don't want to pull the clutch out of the truck or, it's just not worth it. Just take your time. They can slow down behind you. Not your problem. Get to the top of the hill and then you can get up to full speed. So, and then from there, I think we went to Cabela's.
Cabela's, yep.
And that's where we boondocked. That was our last night on the road. In
Connecticut.
Yeah, in Connecticut. Real nice place. We went in, bought a couple things at Cabela's, supported them, thanked them for letting us use their parking lot. And that's where we really got to use the solar system. We boondocked. It was about 90 degrees. We actually put the campers side by side, so our awning went out over Jim's awning. We had a nice little campsite there where we could cook our burgers for the night, set out where it was cooler under the awnings and stuff. But what we ended up doing is we ended up running the air conditioner in here for a little bit off-grid, off the Battle batteries, and cooling the camper down. And then we were able to open the windows during the night and get a comfortable night's sleep. So I know we told you that if we made it to Tennessee, we'd show you the modules on the roof, but we didn't do any filming while we're in Tennessee, so you guys are going to get double your money. We made it to Tennessee and back, and we still have modules. So let's jump up on the roof, and let's look at those modules. All right, so as we just said, we're going to show you the modules. I've got you up here on the roof of the camper, so now I'm going to show you how we installed these. So there's your 340 watt modules, and what we did is we used the Renogy Z brackets, and we did 6 per module. So one at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. And you can see sort of a little dark colored line in the roof right there. We actually hit the aluminum rafters there, 4 feet on center in this camper. And we hit those with that bracket and that bracket. And these ones are just screwed into the roof deck. And we did use the sealant, and then we covered it over with self-leveling lap sealant. And then up there on the electrical wires, you'll notice that we actually use the, I can't remember the, Eternabond tape, just to hold the wires down. There's no holes in the roof there. We just put little pieces over the wire to keep it from moving around. And we actually snuck down the vent for the gray water. So that goes right down into the gray water tank, and about a foot above the tank, we drilled a small hole, and we fished the fish tape up through. We pulled the wires down through, but then we folded them back around and made a loop in the pipe and come out, and then siliconed the whole hole over so nothing can get out. Maybe not the best scenario, but it sure did save us trying to find a way down into the basement of the fifth wheel when there really wasn't one. A lot of the newer campers come with you know, what they call solar ready, and there's already wires up here, but in this case we didn't have that. This worked for us, and I did, like I said, promised you that we would bring you up and show you if we made it back from Tennessee and they were still on the roof. Actually, I think I told you if we made it to Tennessee, but we got busy in Tennessee. So let's go back downstairs and we'll finish talking about our trip. Okay, we're back off the roof. You saw the modules. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a highlight on the solar system. We felt that it did really well. We learned some things about it. As Sue mentions, you know, as talked about to me, the refrigerator.
Yeah.
You know,
the refrigerator does draw quite a lot of power. It runs fairly continuous at about 300 watts. And so if you don't switch it over to propane and you try and let it run all day on the batteries, and then you try and let it run through the evening on the batteries, and then you're boondocking, it is going to go through a lot of your power. And in our case, enough that it could have run overnight, or the air conditioner could have run several times during the night, but we would not be able to do both. And we were kind of testing the solar system, so we wanted to see what our power consumption and draw would be there. So we did let it go down further than we might necessarily have if we had been trying to be conservative. We would have switched over to the propane, but because we were testing it, we didn't.
Yeah, and that's, so, you know, and that was on the 4 Battleborn batteries. And, you know, what we decided when we got back was they had a sale on the batteries. We picked up 2 more Battleborn batteries for a total of 6. And, you know, you don't think about things, but when Sue mentions 300 watts, I'm going to say that the refrigerator runs probably about an 80% duty cycle. But you look at 300 watts for the refrigerator, say it runs for 10 hours, that's 3 kilowatt hours. So now you say it runs 20 hours in a day, that's 6 kilowatt hours for a 24-hour block of period to run that refrigerator off your batteries if you have no solar input. The air conditioner draws about 1,500 watts when it's running, but, you know, if you work with that through the night and you run it, say, maybe 15 or 20 minutes at a time, or you turn the temperature up to 80 so you're at least still comfortable, right? You can actually, the duty cycle, that be really low, and you can get a lot of air conditioning through the night off those same batteries. So that's why we landed on the 6 batteries. We feel like that's going to be a really good balance as long as we do some energy management to balance with our tanks, our freshwater, our black water, and our gray water tanks. And that may sound a little odd for those that don't do camping or don't do dry camping, but in general, like if you're going to do some dry camping, let's say we're going to go out through the Badlands and we want to spend 3 or 4 nights dry camping out in the wilderness, seeing the sights. And we know that, okay, every 5th day we have to find someplace we can dump the tanks, get fresh water. So maybe what we do is every 5 days we get a campsite. where we can back in, we can plug into power, charge our batteries back up if they're low, dump our tanks, fill our freshwater tank, and then we can boondock for another 3 or 4 or 5 nights. So now we believe we have a solar system that's capable of keeping up with us on that, running our laptops, our phones if we're working, that type of thing, editing these videos for you guys if we remember to run the camera. So that's where we landed. I think I think we're really happy overall. We had no real issues with the camper or with the systems in the camper or the solar system. The only real issue we had with the truck was the one valve stem and, a couple accidents. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing I can close with here is that just relax, have a little fun, don't be in a hurry. Realize you're out there to have fun. I mean, the point of going RVing is to enjoy the sights, enjoy the different things, the people you meet. It's not about getting from here to there as fast as you can possibly get there. If it is, take your car and get a hotel room. I think
the joy is in the journey, and that's the most important thing to remember when you're out there. Is there's always a secondary option of a place to stay. There's Cabela's, Cracker Barrel, call around to different campsites. So don't stress yourself out driving. Just roll with it and do what you need to do to have a great time.
Try to have a positive attitude and, be happy about it. I mean, for me, it was a little bit of an interesting trip for me because I tend to be a little bit nervous about what if I blow the clutch out of the truck? What if I twist off a dry shaft? What if, right? And you can actually what if yourself right into a corner where you never feel comfortable making these adventures. The end of the day, I joke, but the absolute worst case, and I've said this before we went on the trip, and I said this the whole trip, the absolute worst case is I'm stopping at a dealership and buying a brand new truck, right? Worst case, I'm buying a brand new truck and replacing the old 94 Dodge. So, you can't really stress over it, and don't make any rash decisions. Stop and think about things. We had some friends that were hauling a camper to Florida. They had some mechanical problems. First garage that was able to get them in said, oh yeah, you need a new engine. And they said, well, okay, we're going to think about it. They found somebody to tow their camper the rest of the way. They were close. And they went and spent the night in Florida. They talked about it, and they decided to tow the truck back to Florida to their campsite and think about it for a while. And when they did, they found another mechanic close by that was recommended by friends at the campground. And he came out, and it was like $100 fix. It was something very simple. So don't make rash decisions. Don't just jump on the first thing that you hear, because unfortunately there are some people out there that will see your license plates, see your camper, and be like, oh, you're not from around here. Oh, that's going to cost some money. I mean, and they're rare, but they are out there. And there's a lot of honest people out there too. But just sleep on it. You got your home behind you, right? Get it towed to wherever, and sleep in the camper if it's that bad, and think about what you're going to do. Or even rent a car and drive home and think about it. Just don't make snap decisions, because snap decisions usually end up costing a lot of money. But I don't know. Anything else to add?
I think we'll bring you the next video that talks to you a little bit more about the fine points of what we learned and the tips and tricks and advice. So keep an eye out for that one. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.